Do you know who is the first Indian big bull? Are you thinking about Harshad Mehta? No, you are wrong. I am talking about 100 years before even Harshad Mehta scam actually happens. And there was a scam that actually led to Presidency Bank of Bombay to collapse. And I am talking about the year 1868, when the first scam was recorded. During that time, the big shock that almost destroyed the nascent Indian banking system. And the man behind the scam was known as Premchand Roychand. He was known as a Cotton King or Bullion King as well. He had many faces. He was the founder member of Bombay Stock Exchange where we all invest. He was a reformer. He was a philanthropist. He was mostly misunderstood in the history of Indian stock market. Today, I shall unfold some of these untold facts about him. So, stay tuned. We all talk about Sensex when anything referred to stock market investment. Today, around 3% of Indian population are directly or indirectly attached to stock market. You know, Sensex is actually related to Bombay Stock Exchange, one of the oldest stock exchange of the world. Do you know who was the founder of BSE? How he helped in BSE's formation? Who he was? How India perceived about him? Let's listen to me. In Mumbai, as the city now known, there is a gallery named after him at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya, formerly known as the Princess of Wales Museum. Then there is an award, the Premchand Roychand Award, given out by the University of Kolkata every year to an outstanding student who clears the Master of Arts degree with flying colors. And then there is the Venetian Gothic Rajabhai clock tower, which was at Fort Mumbai, which was about a month back was lying defunct, is now up and ticking. In business, Premchand Roychand and Sons (PRS) is but a tiny enterprise. Its only significant undertaking is the manufacturing of insulated products for automotive and industrial applications. According to documents filed with Register of Companies, the company PRS has recorded a turnover of rupees 82.3 crore on 31st March 2014 with a major profit of rupees 15.3 lakhs. The group's other business is DME Corporation of India Private Limited, a joint venture between Milacron Corporation of Cincinnati, US and PRS Group. DME manufacturers standard components are mold bases, ejector pins, etc. for the plastic molding industry. All of this stands in stark contrast to what was once prosperous family name, a name which was taken in the same breath as three other men, Jamsetji Jijiboy, David Sassoon and Jamsetji Tata, the four merchant princes of Bombay. Premchand Roychand was one of the most influential businessmen in 19th century Bombay. Almost 150 years ago, Premchand Roychand, the man who made a fortune in the stockbroking business and came to be known as Cotton King, the Bullion King, or just the Big Bull. He was also founder of the Native Share and Stockbrokers Association, an institution that is now known as BSE. Sushil Kumar Premchand, who is carrying his great-grandfather's legacy and now head of the PRS group, says in a discussion that the group's business interests are more out of choice than lack of ambition. Every generation is different, Sushil says. It is a question of what you are comfortable in doing and how well you do it. As long as you do what you are able to do well as you can do it, what else can anybody expect? And then he added little more that some of these buildings and objects are not in themselves important, but to me they are important because what they reflects, which is the concept of returning to the society because you have been benefited from the society. If we look back at Premchand Roychand's life, who was a generous philanthropist too, a life that over the years has been documented in two narratives. One, the story of how he amassed a massive fortune, squandered it all, regained a bit of it, and then contributed generously to the philanthropy, where he was an extraordinary man who sought neither fame nor riches. And the two, where he was a scam artist and led to the collapse of the Bank of Bombay and the Asiatic Institution in 1865, and then later in life redeemed himself in philanthropy. Let's start from the very beginning. Premchand Roychand was born in March 1831 in Surat. He was the son of Rajabai and Roychand Deepchand. Roychand Deepchand was a dealer in timber who eventually moved to Bombay in search of better opportunities. Little is known about Premchand's early days except that his father wanted his son to be good in education. So he enrolled him at Elphinstone Institution, which is now known as Elphinstone College in Mumbai. After his education in 1849, at the age of 18, Premchand entered the stockbroking business. He is believed to be the first Indian broker who has fluent in speaking, reading and writing the English language. Success in his profession came quickly to young Premchand when he began to work as an assistant with Ratan Chand Lala, a wealthy and successful broker in 1852. Lala has shrewdly gauged how far this valuable young fellow would prove as an assistant, especially when going around his growing business as a broker around Europeans, both merchants and bank managers. Over the years, several legends has been passed down, but how Premchand had a fabulous memory in the sense that he never recorded his trade with pen and paper. He would just make a mental note of it and remember them to the T. But perhaps the most well-known legend is one about how he went about his business under a tree, where Premchand began his successful career as a broker under the shade of stately spreading banyan tree at the western end of beautiful Horniman Circle Garden in South Bombay, where wayfarers, cotton and opium brokers, clerks, strangers came to quench their thirst. Around 22 such brokers began trading under the banyan tree and formed the Native Share and Stock Brokers Association, each contributing rupees 1. Anyhow, dabbling in cotton and opium trading, by the way, both were legal that time, both of which were in demand in China. Premchand did well. By 1858, Roychand and his son were reputed to have amassed a modest fortune of lakh of rupees or thereabouts. But it was only a few years later, Premchand really made it big with the outbreak of American Civil War in mid of April 1861. Plantations in US was the major source of cotton for the Lancashire mills in Britain. The war brought an abrupt end to it. So Britain turned to India, and India stepped into the breach, shipping much of its crop through Bombay port. Over the next 5 years, the value of Indian cotton export to the UK jumped from rupees 16 crore to rupees 40 crore. And the price of Indian cotton rose from around 4 pence a pound in Liverpool market to become 20 pence to 24 pence a pound. It was an absolutely frenzy. Cotton demand was historical high and people are going crazy about it. Even old mattresses were put into requisition to get the cotton. New beds are being made of coir fiber. It was the period of prosperity. And as people flocked to the city to make a quick buck, the need to fell to reclaim the land from the sea. Several reclamation companies and financial institutions sprang up. The Bombay Gazetteer recorded that in December 1864, there were 31 banks, 16 financial associations, 8 land companies, 16 press companies, 10 shipping companies, 20 insurance companies as against 10 in 1855, and 62 joint stock companies where none had existed in 1855. Needless to say, Premchand was the major kingpin of this boom. He founded Back Bay Reclamation Company and then struck gold in the cotton crisis. All of that, Share King's the most fabled figure was Premchand. People started telling that he would be the first of many famous Bombayites who believed that profit held primacy over principle. Premchand was promoter and shareholder in the commercial bank and mercantile banks and associated with about 70 mushroom companies. He also took control of Bank of Bombay. He had a sharp eye for the loopholes and regulatory grey areas. There is a popular tale How Premchand tipped others in cotton business by sending boats to the sea to secure information on the condition of Liverpool cotton market much before anyone else. Since there was no telegraphic services between England and India, it became a vital matter to be able to obtain the earliest news possible to have the speculative benefit through fast selling boats, which were kept in readiness to board the steamer at what was known at that time as Outer Lighthouse. At the height of the boom, the Bank of Bombay increased its capital in 1863 from 52 lakhs rupees to 104 lakhs rupees. It also allowed advances on personal security, which was prohibited earlier. Massive speculative business was daily transacted on personal capacity, involving crores of rupees, mostly at a fictitious prices. There was absolute hysteria for the shares of Back Bay, where the price for its future delivery went up to almost rupees 50,000. This, in brief, was the wild speculation of which the master brilliance was from Mr. Premchand Roychand. There was hardly a company in which his assistant to pool its securities in the market wasn't invoked by promoters. The modus operandi was very simple. A bank would help to float a financial company by advancing against its shares. The promoter of the financial company would launch a reclamation company then, and against the share of which both banks and financial companies would advance funds, and then the shares would change hands at ridiculously high premium. This was going very well. Suddenly, the end of American Civil War changed all this. On 1st May 1865, Britain would again source its cotton from US. The India story was over by then. On the Liverpool market, the price of cotton fell from 20 pences to 10 pences. As a consequence, in Bombay, there was a panic and chaos. Everyone tried to sell their shares in the bubble companies, but there were no buyer at all. By the middle of the May, one by one, the city's wealthy businessmen went bankrupt, led by Beramji Harmuzji Kama, K.F. Parekh, K.J. Redimani, Rustamji Jamshedji Jijibai, K.N. Kama, and of course, Premchand Roychand. And needless to say, Bank of Bombay collapsed. So did the Asiatic Institution. In 1868, Government of India set up a commission to inquire into and report on the causes and circumstances of its failure. Sir Charles Jackson, a judge of the Supreme Court Jury Board in Bombay, was appointed president of the commission. A total of 96 witnesses was examined. 74 of them were in Bombay only. The root of the mischief was Act 10 of 1863, which led to the lending by the bank official right and left of the shareholders. Depositors' money was mismanaged to the large extent. Money were distributed to all kinds of, but out of all proportion to their respective financial positions, overlooking their committals elsewhere, without any checks and measures and without any reasonable limitations. Lakhs were given away on personal security which didn't even have the merit of guarantee. Cash credits were allowed with minimal to zero due diligence. These again were permitted to be renewed to an indefinite extent at any rate till the mischief reaches to the point of no return. Accounts to the extent of lakhs were allowed to be overdrawn. Through his wave of companies and interests in financial institutions, Premchand was at the center of this mischief. The other shareholders, directors, allowed him to withdraw vast amount of money from the bank to finance his multitudinous schemes, directly or indirectly. Rupees 1.38 crore, a colossal and unheard of advance has been committed. And that amount was about half of the Bank of Bombay's total capital. After 1865 burst, Premchand spent a lot of his time and money on philanthropy. His largest endowment was made to University of Bombay for a library and a clock tower. It is but another myth that Premchand wanted the clock tower to be named after his mother, Rajabai, because Rajabai's eyesight was fading and she was unable to read the time. However, as a devoted Jain, she likes to dine before sunset, and therefore, to make her aware about the hour, her devoted son contributed the clock, which is in those days could be heard many miles away. Premchand also contributed generously towards education. For instance, he gave his 5 shares of Mazgao Reclamation Company to the Cathedral School for Girls. To the Alexandra Girls' School, he donated rupees 50,000 for setting up a boarding and lodging house. A large sum of those days, rupees 3 lakhs, were donated to University of Calcutta for Premchand Roychand Award. In Surat, he established a girls' school called Roychand Deepchand Girls' School named after his father. It is difficult to exactly calculate the extent of his gifts to education, particularly to the education of the girl childs. But the Premchand family has ceased being surprised as time goes by new discoveries of his magnificence. It is a question that must be asked: how much of this was an image building exercise? There are no clear answers, but a little skepticism would be useful. I have always found him to be fascinating man, says City Adrift author Fernandez. But you should look at his history carefully. Think about it. His first biography was commissioned by family almost 100 years ago. And over the years, the family has carefully maintained a certain narrative about him. Sushil Kumar Premchand, his great grandson, believes it is a myopic view about his great grandfather, who should be best remembered for his giving back to the society. That is his biggest legacy, he says. I know that some people call him Harshad Mehta of that time. They say, where is the difference? But there is. He returned every penny to the society. He is the man who taught Indians to make money. If you find this video useful and like to know more about legendary stories of great investors, if you wanted to get motivated and want to know how you can do your own financial planning, portfolio management and wealth creation, please like, share and subscribe Nogrow Invest channel to get the first notification for more of such videos. Thank you. See you in the next episode.